knee and inside. Knee to inside. Or inside. Hey! Hey! One more. Careful. Strong cap. Hey! Hey! Right. Down. Hey! Stop. Hey! Stay.
In this introduction, Master Higona will begin by explaining the basic stances of Godzu-ryu. In Japan, the dimensions of the stances in karate have been more or less standardized for convenience when teaching. However, the most suitable stance is one that accommodates the individual's physique. Therefore, in sanctioned dachi, the stance may vary according to the size and body type of the individual. Just as different people will stand in different ways when standing naturally, so the karate stances individuals adopt should be of slightly different dimensions according to that individual's own particular body type. This is the ideal stance in karate. Now Master Higona will explain the basic stances of Godzu-ryu, beginning with the most fundamental and simple to perform. Hei sokodachi, closed foot stance. This stance is not used often, however, it can be found within some of the kata of Godzu-ryu. In Shisokshin kata, in this technique, the feet are in Hei sokodachi. The weight is dropped and the knees are bent as the strike is executed. When in this stance, the feet are not just resting on the floor. The ball of the foot and the inner underside of the sole is stuck to the floor. The weight of the body is directed to the center as the knees bend. Musubadachi, formal attention stance. Musubadachi is used when bowing to a partner and also at the beginning of each kata in the yoi or ready position. In Musubadachi, focus on the big toe and inner underside of the foot sole. The feet should be stuck to the floor like the roots of a tree into the ground. Heikodachi, parallel stance. In Heikodachi, the big toe and the second toe face directly forwards. The inner edges of the feet are parallel. When standing normally, the inner surface of the sole is firmly stuck to the floor and the weight is directed downwards. Heikodachi is often used in basic kumite training as a ready position in tournaments and also in kata, as in this example from Saifa kata. Heikodachi is also the stance that is adopted when performing basic techniques. Turn the feet outwards 45 degrees to assume Hachi Machi. This stance is also known as Shizentai, or natural stance. Hachi Machi is used in basic kumite and in tournaments just prior to fighting. As in Heikodachi, ideally the inner edges of the heels should be approximately hip width or shoulder width apart. The dimensions of the stance must suit the body type of the individual. For short or tall persons, the distance between the feet will vary. Again, do not just stand. The soles of the feet are firmly stuck to the floor. The knees should be slightly bent and the shoulders free of tension.
曲げます。で、軽く力抜いて、それで技を行います。これは8立ちと言います。で、次に、
Uchi Hachi Gidachi. With the knees bent, this is Kibadachi, or horse riding stance. In Okinawa, it is called Naifan Dachi.
内ファンチン立ちと言います。次に、
From this position, turn the feet 45 degrees outwards into Shikodachi, straddle leg stance. This stance is used widely in kata.
ただ要領として立つ場合
To
に
perform this stance correctly, the big toe and inner underside of the foot sole must be stuck to the floor like the roots of a tree into the ground.
測定に力が静まるように木の根っこにしっかりこう貼り付けます。それで
The knees should be pulled back and the soles of the feet are pushed into the floor with this
体
action.
こう床へ吸い付けて外に後ろへ引く。で腰は
The hips are rotated forwards. The correct posture can be seen clearly from this side view.
こうじゃなくて
Pull the knees back and rotate the hips forward.
出して腰を前へ出します。これが四股立ち。高さは
In Shikodachi, the hips are higher than the knees.
これがですね、いくらがやや高いけど。で、超純先生の表現
Master
ですが
Chojo Miyagi would always explain that in Shikodachi, in the correct position, water would run down the thighs towards the
指
knees.
導されたらしいです。で、顎を引き、
Pull the chin back and keep the back straight.
これが立ち方、四股立ちです。で、これは技としては、
This stance is most often used as a means of strengthening the legs.
足を鍛える意味で、この大腿筋を鍛える意味でよく使う。
In technique, it can be used after an opponent has been thrown.
相手を投げた場合の
A low punch can be delivered to the opponent with the added power of the body weight dropping down into the strike.
この場合によく使われます。あるいはもろて精杯の中における一本剣
This can be seen in Seppai Kata as Master Higaonna demonstrates with this technique.
平行立ちから
Sanchin Dachi,
三鎮立ち
hourglass stance.
右足を
Begin with the feet in Heiko Dachi.
力入れ描いて前
Move the right foot one step forward, describing an inner circular motion as you do so.
外に開き
Turn the heel outward so that the toes point in. Spread the toes and root the feet to the floor.
左床へ吸い付きます。でこれもフォア回し前ですから
The inner and outer underside of the soles are stuck to the floor. The arch should also be pressed to the floor like a suction cup.
この測定全面が
It is important to concentrate on the whole sole area when performing Sanchin Dachi.
ですから意識の集中
Imagine the feet are firmly stuck to the floor.
力を沈めます。それから次に
After the feet have been focused correctly, tighten the ankles.
それから
Rotate the knees inwards and the thighs outwards.
それでさらに
Then tighten the buttocks and draw the anal sphincter muscle up and in.
上のお尻を
Coil the lower abdomen upwards and in to focus
そ
the
れから
tanden.
下顎を内側へ入れるようにして固めます。これが正しい三鎮立ちです。次にこれが右足
With
前
the
の場合
right
は
foot forwards,
右
the
三
stance is Migi Sanchin
右足
Dachi.
前の場合は
With the left foot forwards, it is Hidari Sanchin Dachi.
三鎮立ち。
Now Master Higaonna will demonstrate Sanchin Dachi facing the side.
立ち方を説明します。横から見た場合に
The heel of the forward foot should be on the same line as the toes of the rear foot.
後ろ足のつま先が同じ線になる。ですから前足のかかとの線上に後ろ足のつま先が来るように立ちます。でその場合に
Once the feet are the correct distance apart, turn the toes in and bend the knees.
お尻を締めて
Tense the buttocks and tighten the lower abdomen with the feeling of drawing the testicles up.
ハンデを巻き
Coil the tanden
巻きつけるようにでこの膝足の線が
The knees should be directly over the toes.
垂直
The back must be straight with the eyes looking directly forward. This position is Sanchin Dachi. The eyes look straight ahead, the buttocks are tight, and the back is straight. The feet are rooted to the ground. In Okinawa, the body in this state is called Chin Kuchi Kakin. The whole body is tight and the stance should feel immovable. Sanchin Dachi, like Shikodachi, is a training stance to strengthen and condition the legs and body. Sanchin Dachi is not a stance to be used in real combat. Its main purpose is as a training stance.
前屈立ち。
前屈立ち, front stance. This stance, as with all stances, will vary in dimensions according to the individual. In kata, there are 3 types of zenkutsu dachi. These are, as in Gekisai Daichin Cipher Kata, Han Zenkutsu Dachi, half front stance.
3回前にステップして一足長。横から見ますと
In Han Zenkutsu Dachi, there is approximately 1 foot's distance between the front and rear foot. This is a short Zenkutsu Dachi. The front leg is bent as in Sanshin Dachi. The rear leg is straight, but it is not locked tight. Stand naturally and without tension. When performing blocking techniques, the weight is evenly distributed on both feet. When attacking, however, the weight is transferred to the front foot to add power to the punch. The feet are shoulder width apart and the toes of the front foot are turned in slightly. With the right foot forward, this is Migi Han Zenkutsu Dachi. With the left foot forward, this is Hidari Han Zenkutsu Dachi. In the next stance, take 1 more step forward to assume regular Zenkutsu Dachi. The dimensions of this stance must be varied according to body size. For Master Higaonna, the stance he is now demonstrating is the ideal stance for himself. For others, it may vary slightly. In former times, the length of the stances was approximated by kneeling as shown and measuring with the fists in the space between the knee and heel. For Zenkutsu Dachi, the distance should be approximately 1 or 2 fists. This is one method to determine the dimensions of Zenkutsu Dachi according to body size. This is regular Zenkutsu Dachi, which occurs in most kata. As with Han Zenkutsu Dachi, weight is distributed according to the technique being performed. With the left foot forward, this is Hidari Zenkutsu Dachi. Zenkutsu Dachi is another stance that is mainly for conditioning the legs. This next front stance is only found in Kururunfa Kata, Hikui Zenkutsu Dachi, low front stance. Take 1 step forward from regular Zenkutsu Dachi to assume Hikui Zenkutsu Dachi. This is a very low stance which in technique may be used to stoop down to scoop an opponent's heel or knee. This is the reason this stance is so low. At the same time, this stance is to strengthen the legs and hips. As in the other stances, the sole of the foot should be firmly rooted to the ground. Weight is transferred onto the front foot when scooping the leg of an opponent. With the right leg forwards, this is Migi Hikui Zenkutsu Dachi. And with the left foot forwards, this is Hidari Hikui Zenkutsu Dachi. Kokutsu Dachi, back stance. This stance is found only in Seppai Kata, and it may be used in various ways in technique. Kokutsu Dachi varies according to different styles of karate. In Godzu-ryu, most of the weight is supported on the bent rear leg. The front leg is straight. Again, this stance will vary according to body type. The toes of the rear foot face 45 degrees to the rear, and the front foot is facing in the same way parallel to this. The eyes look straight ahead. The rear leg is bent and the front leg is straight. The soles of the feet, as in the other stances, should be firmly rooted to the floor. Neko-ashi dachi, cat foot stance. Neko-ashi dachi is a very popular and widely used stance. It is found in most of the kata of Godzu-ryu. Begin in musubi dachi. Place the right foot 1 step forward. Sink the hips down. The body weight is supported almost entirely on the rear leg. The ball and toes of the front foot rest lightly on the floor as if floating.
軽くこの足底と指先は前足底上足底指先はぴったり床へ軽く浮かすで体重ほとんど後ろ足かける。これは一つの
This stance is used for sabaki, for defense and for attack. At the same time, neko ashidachi is an effective exercise for conditioning the legs.
蹴るそういう技が含まれております。でも同時にまた鍛錬としての立ち方でもあります。で横から見ますと一足間開けて
The feet are 1 foot's distance apart. With the left foot forward, this is hidari neko ashidachi, and with the right foot forward, it is migi neko ashidachi. The back must be straight, the chin is pulled in, and the eyes look straight ahead. Weight is supported on the rear leg, and the front foot rests lightly on the floor. Neko ashidachi is also known as uki ashidachi. The front foot points straight forward, the knee is slightly turned in to the inside.
猫足立ちまたは浮き足立ちとも言います。
Now Master Higaonna will demonstrate Kokutsudachi and Hikuizen Kutsudachi facing the side.
このようになります。体重はほとんどこの足に乗せます。
With most of the weight on the rear leg, it is possible to kick quickly with the front leg. The weight being supported on the rear leg leaves the front leg free to either block or attack. Hikuizen Kutsudachi. As you can see, this is a very deep stance. As stated earlier, this stance is used in technique to scoop an opponent's foot and as a conditioning stance to strengthen the legs. This next stance is found in Seipai Kata. The legs crossed in this position is called Ben Sokudachi. Ben Soku means a smaller vine winding around a large tree. This stance imitates this description with the legs entwined as shown. In kata, the weight is usually distributed evenly between the legs. However, depending on the body type of the individual, more weight may be transferred onto the rear leg if necessary. When the weight is distributed evenly, the most important point is to root the soles firmly to the ground. The inner underside surface of the soles is rooted to the ground and the weight is directed downwards. Body weight is supported where the knees cross. The back is erect.
この力こっちにかかるように立ちます。上半身は姿勢まっすぐにして立ちます。これは弁足立ち。また横から見ますと
From this side view, you can see how the legs cross.
ですから
Ben Sokudachi is also sometimes called Kousadachi. Kousa means to cross. However, in Godzu-ryu, Ben Sokudachi is more commonly used.
この場合は振り付き
This stance is often used with Yoku Uke and Furizuki combination as in Seipai Kata.
使われます。次に正三立ち。
Seizandachi, side-facing straddle stance. This stance is peculiar to Seizan Kata. The left foot faces to the front and the right foot faces directly to the side as we look at it. Weight is evenly distributed on both legs. The soles of the feet, the area Master Higaonna is indicating, must be focused on. Concentrate all the weight down into this area of the feet and down into the ground. With the right foot, concentrate on the inner underside of the sole, aligned from the big toe to the heel. The heels of both feet should be in line. Weight is distributed evenly and the left knee must be pulled back. The left hip is pushed forward to direct the weight down into the left foot sole. The right leg is pointing directly to the side. This stance is named Seizandachi as it is unique to Seizan Kata. Seizan dachi is a training stance to develop strength in the legs and hips.
で次に腰立ち。
Koshidachi, squat stance. Koshidachi is found in Kururun for kata. This stance is used when throwing an opponent at the instant the throw is executed.
顔をして決めるときにこの立ち方をします。腰立ち。で腰というのはこの
The toes and balls of the feet are in contact with the ground in koshidachi. Just as with other stances, it is important to concentrate in this area. As the body drops, weight is directed downwards. The back must be straight and the eyes look directly to the front. From this side view, notice how the back is straight. Do not hunch forwards. From this position, the spring of the legs is used to propel the body forwards into the next technique.
以上で立ち方終わります。
In this section, Master Higaonna will explain correct movement in stances. This is important for developing power and effective defense and attack. Stepping in Sanchin Dachi. Sanchin Dachi is one of the most important basic training stances. Therefore, it must be performed correctly from the beginning. Begin in Musubadachi. Move the right foot forward in a circular motion. The toes grip the floor. When performing these stances, the soles of the feet are rooted to the floor. The knees are bent and the hip area is tightened. Weight is directed down into the ground. When moving in Sanchin Dachi, turn the heel of the front foot in. Transfer the weight onto the front foot and step forward with the rear foot.
そういう意味で体重今ゴロゴロかかっていますから移動するために半円を描いていきます。それで前に着地すると同時に
As soon as the step has been completed, transfer the weight evenly once more between the feet and root the stance firmly to the ground. The feet describe circular movements when stepping to allow for smooth transference of weight onto the front leg as the rear leg steps through. Focus the legs tight before taking the next step. Then step forward, gliding the sole of the foot lightly over the floor surface. The sole moves slowly and smoothly, never breaking contact with the floor. When moving backwards, do not lift the heel from the ground. Focus concentration to the rear as the step is performed. Tighten after each step. When moving forward, the inner underside of the sole, a line from the big toe to the heel, never leaves the floor. As the step is completed, the whole sole area is then pushed firmly to the floor. Once this method of stepping has been mastered, try to step with the whole sole area staying in contact with the floor. When moving backwards, first turn the back heel in before the step is performed. As the step is completed, turn the heel out again to its original position. Sanchin Dachi stepping, side view. The heel of the front foot is in line with the toes of the back foot. To transfer the weight smoothly, step in a circular motion. Root the stance firmly to the ground as the step is completed. Direct the weight downwards and push the soles of the feet to the floor as the step is completed. Be careful not to lift the heel as you move backwards. Neko Ashidachi, cat foot stance. Neko Ashidachi while moving in Suriashi is very difficult to perform correctly and requires much practice. To begin with, in basic technique, step forward with the heel of the front foot. Then transfer the weight onto the heel and draw the rear leg up. This is basic technique. Pull the rear leg up, supporting the weight on the planted front heel. When moving to the rear, the back foot moves first. Once this basic movement has been mastered, move forward, sliding the sole area of the front foot over the floor. Next, Master Higaonna will demonstrate moving to the side in Neko Ashidachi. In basic technique, as before, the heel is used to step. Once this has been mastered, it is important to move while sliding the whole sole area of the foot across the floor surface. When moving to the side, first practice the basic step before moving on to the more advanced method. Do not lift the foot from the ground when stepping. The baki movement should always be performed with the body staying on the same level. Do not bob up and down. Begin slowly, concentrating on technique. Then try to move with speed and agility. Moving to the front in zigzag formation. Step to the front at 45 degrees. Practice moving both forwards and back. Now Master Higaonna will demonstrate and explain moving in a variety of different directions in Neko Ashidachi. In real combat, the opponent will move in all directions. This exercise teaches you how to move quickly and with balance in order to be able to react to and counter the opponent's movements. This exercise is a very effective method to improve and develop kumite technique. Moving in Zenkutsudachi. Begin with the feet in Heikodachi. The feet are approximately hip width apart depending on the body type of the individual. The dimensions of the stance should suit the individual. For Master Higaonna, this is the ideal stance. When stepping forwards, move the foot in a circular motion. The step is performed in this way so that the weight can be transferred smoothly onto the front foot. This circular motion allows you to move forward, keeping the hips at the same level at all times. It also allows for the transference of weight onto the front leg as you move. When stepping back, be sure to turn the front heel in back to its original position after the completion of each step. When stepping forward, ensure that the rear heel is turned out. When stepping through fast, the foot moves in a straight line forward. Usually, when executing linear techniques, the feet must step through fast in a straight line as the strike is delivered with speed and power. With circular blocking techniques such as Hikiyuke, the feet follow the hands by moving in circles also. For linear techniques, however, the feet step straight through. It is natural for human beings when they walk to step straight through with the feet. The feet do not move in circles. However, in karate, in basic technique, the feet are trained to move in circles, which is a somewhat unnatural way of moving. Later in his development, the karateka will once more return to the natural way of stepping, but only after reaping the benefits of this basic training. These circular stepping movements teach the karateka how to develop a secure stance and good balance. In real combat, it is natural for people to assume a natural stance and move in a natural way. Moving in Hanzen Kutsudachi. As explained before, the length of the stance is approximately 1 foot's distance between the front and back foot. When executing blocking techniques in this stance, the body weight does not shift from one leg to the other. However, when punching or striking, the body weight is transferred to generate power. When stepping fast, the feet move in straight lines both forward and back. From the side view, you can see that the body always remains at the same level throughout the movements. Rei no jirachi. The Japanese character Rei stance. This stance is used for moving in at an angle to an opponent and can be found in Seppai Kata. The feet are 1 foot's distance apart. Step smoothly when moving in this stance. Moving in Shikodachi. Shikodachi is the stance that is not normally used in technique. It is basically a training stance only. However, it is sometimes used after throwing an opponent and sometimes when stamping down. When moving, transfer the weight onto the front foot as the rear leg steps through in a circular motion. Do not lift the foot from the ground. The soles of the feet should slide lightly over the surface as the foot steps through. Once this circular movement has been mastered, you can then practice stepping straight through. Keep the same level as you move. Do not raise the hips up and down. Be careful not to lift the feet. This method of stepping is for more advanced students. For beginning students, because they have still to develop good balance, they should begin with the circular stepping method. Now Master Higaonna will demonstrate a footwork training drill. Begin in a natural stance with the hands in kamae position. Imagine an opponent in front of you. In this exercise, try not to jump up and down. Keep the soles of the feet in contact with the floor at all times. The knees should be slightly bent and the body free of tension. The hips and body weight is directed downwards, but the soles of the feet rest lightly on the floor. If delivering a punch, the soles of the feet would be rooted to the ground for that instant. During this exercise, though, the feet are light and smooth to allow fast and agile movements. All the joints of the leg should be slightly bent to create a cushion from which you can move and attack fast. Do not stand completely erect with the legs locked straight.
ですから棒立ちにならないでいくらか曲げた状態でやった方が非常に理想です。やります。これが足の運足法です。一応基本ですけども終わります。 次に
Now Master Higaonna will explain and demonstrate various sabaki or footwork techniques from the kamae position.
状態の場合はま
To
ず
begin with, the body, the ankles, the knees and the hips should all be free of tension.
全身の力抜きそれぞれの足首、膝、股関節それぞれの関節を緩やかに力抜き
The knees should be slightly bent. This standing position should feel quite natural and comfortable.
腰と肩を利用し
From this position, begin by turning the shoulders and hips together. Begin slowly and concentrate on the hip movement in particular.
できれば
Gradually build up speed. When moving fast, keep the hands up in kamae position and twist the hips quickly. Imagine avoiding an opponent's punch. Begin slowly and then gradually increase speed. In this next exercise, the hips and feet move together.
使います。で次に、右前方斜め反り。
Move 45 degrees to the front. Begin slowly, concentrating on correct form.
でそれができれ
Then
ば
try as fast as possible.
動きます。でそれができれば
Once these basic forms are mastered, begin in a free kamae position. This should be a stance that feels comfortable and natural in free fighting. This kind of practice will develop effective sabaki technique. It is important to imagine an opponent as you perform these exercises. Side moving. As before, if you imagine an opponent, the results of this training will be much more effective. Moving at a 45-degree angle. Moving at a 45-degree angle facing the side. In this exercise, the hips make big movements to turn. These are examples of basic Thai sabaki exercises using hip movement. Moving forward in Suryash. This method of moving is particularly emphasized in Seizan kata. The feet begin as in the kata, facing directly forward. The knees are slightly bent and there should be no tension in the legs. At the moment the technique is focused, the soles of the feet are stuck to the floor. But when moving, all the joints and the whole body must be free of tension. This will permit easy transition to the following techniques. When moving forward, snap the heel up to the buttocks and slide forwards. This should be performed in one movement. Ideally, this exercise should be practiced moving in all directions to develop effective technique. Now Master Higaonna will demonstrate the previous techniques moving against an opponent. This kind of exercise is to develop correct distance in defense and attack. For training purposes, it is good to practice large movements. However, in this exercise, you should move the minimum distance possible to be able to avoid an attack and at the same time be in a position to counter effectively. It is important to realize that sabaki is not only for evading or blocking an attack. It should put you in a position from which you can counter quickly and effectively. This is the most important point in sabaki training. In neko ashidachi, for example, after blocking a front kick, it is necessary to shift forward slightly to make up the correct distance in order to be able to counter effectively. This slight shift forwards enables the whole body strength to be used in the attack as the kick is focused. When moving to the side, move quickly to avoid the punch, but stay close enough to be able to deliver a powerful counter. It is important to always assume the correct distance for your attack. Learning to judge the correct distance is the purpose of sabaki training. If these basic sabaki exercises, which Master Higona has demonstrated, are practiced diligently, then when it comes to tournaments or real combat, swift and effective footwork will come naturally without having to think. It is important to first practice the basic movements in the correct stances. In this example, hip movement is first used to avoid the Mae-geri attack, and then immediately counter with Mawashi-geri. To perform this correctly, the joints of the legs are slightly bent to create a cushion from which you can spring forward quickly to attack. With this kind of sabaki training, your ability to counter-attack effectively will greatly improve. In this example, we can see the effectiveness of this kind of sabaki training. First the kick is evaded, then in the same movement, using just a slight turning of the hips, a devastating counterattack can be executed. In this technique, the hips move just enough to avoid the attack. Do not lift the foot as it can be easily swept in this position. The weight is then transferred onto the front leg, and using the hips to initiate the movement, the kick strikes like a whip to the opponent. When moving forward in suriashi, do not jump forwards. In basic technique, slide forwards to deliver the punch. From a close position, the elbow can be used to strike. Always vary your attack according to your distance from the opponent. As demonstrated here, there are many kinds of sabaki drills which can be practiced against both punches and kicks. All these various kinds of sabaki should be practiced to develop the ability to counter effectively. Sabaki is the ability to evade attacks while at the same time staying close enough to be able to counter effectively. Even if the opponent is so close that he can make contact, you may still evade the attack and then react quickly to counter. For all these sabaki techniques, the soles of the feet, the toes, the ankles, the knees, and the hips must all be free of tension. This creates a cushion from which both attacking and defensive actions can be taken with great speed. In the previous exercises, Master Higona has demonstrated the use of the legs and hips to evade attacks. In the following exercise, Master Higona will demonstrate sabaki techniques using only upper body movement. This is one training drill to develop upper body sabaki skills that can be practiced with a partner. In this exercise, keep the back straight as you squat down. This will protect the lower back from injury while at the same time strengthening that area. As you squat down, keeping the back straight, transfer the weight onto one leg so that the other leg is free to counter. This is a good exercise to condition the legs. However, do not forget the purpose of the exercise, which is to be able to counter effectively after evading an attack. The most important factor in attack and defense is the stance. This is because the feet support the rest of the body, and therefore your ability to attack and defend and your balance will depend on the stances you adopt. There are many different body types and sizes: tall people, heavy people, light people, and so forth. And for all these varying physiques and the different opponents that may be faced, the dimensions of the stances may be modified infinitely. The karate stances that are being taught in Japan and the rest of the world today have been standardized and regulated to specific dimensions. However, it is important to teach revised stances for certain situations. For example, in real combat, it is not realistic to assume rigid stances. You must adopt a natural stance that feels comfortable for your particular body type. Then you can attack or defend from that natural position. Stances such as Zen Kutsudachi are for training purposes. However, in real combat, the stances change all the time and are not at all rigid. There are an infinite variety of differing body types and sizes among human beings, and therefore the stances will change and be interpreted differently to suit each individual. In this respect, it is very important to understand correct stances. The basic stances which have been demonstrated in this tape by Master Higaonna are the traditional stances taken from the kata of Godju-ryu. Ideally, the stances that are adopted in Ju Kumite will be stances that suit the individual best. In former times when Master Chojo Miyagi taught kata, in the beginning he would not teach the stances at all. He would begin by teaching the hand positions and the directions of the eyes only. Once these had been learned, he would then begin to teach the stances according to the individual's body type and size. For example, in Gekisai Daiichi Kata, if the student was thin and light, he would instruct that student to use a longer stance to transfer more weight onto the forward leg. On the other hand, if the student was heavily built, he would teach a shorter, more upright stance. It was in this way that Master Chojo Miyagi would teach stances. He would always teach according to the individual. Teaching in this way is the ideal. A natural stance that suits the individual is the most effective in real combat. The important point to remember in stance work is the soles of the feet. When practicing kumite or in real combat, you do not concentrate on the soles of the feet. But during regular training, it is important to do so in order to be firmly rooted to the ground with the weight directed downwards. In this way, you will be able to develop and execute powerful and effective techniques, both leg techniques and hand techniques. Therefore, for basic stance work, it is essential to focus on the soles of the feet in this way. When moving, it is important to move smoothly and with agility. The most important point when moving is to always keep the hips at the same level. Do not bob up and down. The hips should remain at the same level. This is important for balance.
大事な。例えば、
If you raise up just as you're about to attack, the opponent will interpret your movements and escape backwards easily.
一番理想
Therefore, in attack, the most effective method is to move without excessive motion quickly and smoothly.
ですので、立ち方もよく
Keeping all these points in mind, it is important to practice stances diligently and frequently.